got a bunch of Pokemon Wins and Waves news to talk about. Some of it good, bad, and pretty much anything else from there. So let's start off with the good news. So it looks like Mega Evolution might actually be in Pokemon Wins and Waves. Now we don't technically know right now if this is just a leftover from Pokemon Legends ZA or if Mega Evolution is going to be in this game. Because honestly, that would be really awesome. But now, there's one thing that I wanted to mention. This game does have 30 different islands that you are able to explore to your heart's content, sailing across the 7 seas. Or should we say, letting a Pokemon tow you across the 7 seas. Because, at first, Pokemon was actually developing the game. 1 year ago, a full year, they were developing the game for you were able to ride on pretty much any Pokemon. Think of it like Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee, where you were able to ride some of those Pokemons. But now they completely scrapped that idea, and here comes the scooter. So now you're going to be riding behind a Pokemon. The Pokemon is going to tow you, and it's essentially going to act like the gimmick in Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, where you were able to control the Pokemon. So when you're on the scooter, you are controlling the Pokemon, but of course you are in a scooter. That doesn't matter if you're gliding or you're diving, or even if you're just on land, you are going to be behind the Pokemon, which I find to be very interesting, and why in the world they would do this. Because at first, this would have been the greatest mechanic, that you were just able to sit down on the Pokemon. Now, this would have felt like pretty much the greatest Pokemon game because of the fact that it felt closer to the Pokemon series, the TV show, where you were Ash Ketchum and you were either riding Pokemons or you were just like having fun in the land of Pokemon. And also, Pokemon did change another thing during this development time that really left me scratching my head. Before, there was supposed to be a generated world that would change every so often, which was really cool. And there's a legendary Pokemon seed that would change as well, so you get different Pokemon, different legendary Pokemon. But now that doesn't seem like it's so much the case. Now the legendary Pokemon for right now seems like it's gonna stay, but the world's changing, or the different islands changing as things go on, doesn't seem like it's too much the case, because according to Game Freak, this has been too hard to develop into the game. But you gotta remember that Game Freak, or the Pokemon Company, is the biggest media franchise in the world. So it kind of stings to me. It just stings that this is something that we couldn't get, being able to ride Pokemons. Now, most Pokemon you will still be able to control them, but that just doesn't feel right. It doesn't feel fluid, like a Pokemon game that you really want. Because I thought that Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee really did that great. You were able to ride on Pokemon. Of course, you weren't able to ride on every single Pokemon, but the majority of Pokemon, you were able to do that. So it just sucks at the end of the day. But hey, at least you're able to fly, right? You're able to climb. You're able to do pretty much all of that fun stuff. So there you go. You're able to sail across the 7 seas, and it looks like it's essentially going to be the Legend of Zelda Wind Waker. So if you look at the Legend of Zelda Wind Waker, you're able to sail and then get off to any island that you choose. Well, that's essentially how this is going to work. There's going to be different gym battles on these little islands. Some of them will be locked behind a certain trial, like a gym quest that you get to the gym. Maybe one of them is going to be shrouded in a jungle, and you have to go to this certain jungle. You have to clear a big boss. You have to clear a whole bunch of things, and there you go. You unlock the gym, and then you start battling this gym. Every single island is going to be different, so you don't have to worry about everything like that. So if it's a volcano island, there's of course going to be fire type Pokemon, and it looks like the Pokemon are going to be generated in a different way. So if you look at Scarlet and Violet, every single Pokemon, or as you know, it was probably just you can explore to your heart's content. It was open world, but it wasn't really. You still had to complete the game before you unlocked the ability to catch Pokemon that were a higher level, because without it, your Pokeballs just wouldn't do it. Now it looks like when you go to a different island on the shoreline, there's going to be Pokemon that, let's just say it's a Piplup. Piplup will be like a level 5 or 10 or whatever. There's going to be weak little Pokemon on the shore But then when you go into the island, there's going to be stronger Pokemon that, of course, is meant for later in the game. But this I found was definitely very, very interesting. Another thing that I want to mention, the combat. Now, right now, it looks like there's going to be a mix between both combats. So how exactly this would work? Well then, some points, some battles, it might give you an option to select, okay, do I want a turn-based battle? Or do I want the live action battle? Because there's been some leaks that point towards them using something from Legends ZA and also Legends Arceus, those both battle styles, they can work seamlessly together because let's just say you're doing a trainer battle. You get spotted by a trainer. There's no way to back out of the trainer battle, but you are able to say, okay, so do I want to do a turn-based battle? It would work essentially the same way. You would have all the same moves that you would have on that Pokemon. That Pokemon is able to have a held item, but just the timer and the clock would work a little bit differently. So let's just say that you're in a battle. Okay, you got a Lucario, you got yourself Thunder Punch, Ice Punch, and Fire Punch, okay? So then your turn-based battle, all of those punches, okay, you can use one move and they would do basic 70 damage or whatever it was. And then when you're doing the live action stuff, you can click that, and instead of your moves being turn-based, they'll just go down to being a live action battle instead of having a certain move type or it's going to miss accuracy. It's just going to be just how it was in Pokemon Legends ZA. So overall, I found this to be very interesting. Of course, it's not confirmed until Game Freak confirms. All of this stuff isn't confirmed until Game Freak confirms it. But what do you think about all of this? Do you think that the scooter method might be better than actually riding your own Pokemon? Because I think that riding your own Pokemon would have been cool because you can ride a whole bunch of different Pokemon and it didn't feel like a cheapy little knockoff ripoff kind of thing. Because like I feel like it's more authentic when you're riding that Pokemon, like you're going from the TV series and you feel like you're the Pokemon trainer that's riding the Pokemon. Because you gotta remember, Game Freak has been working on this game, it seems like 3 years now, and then 1 year in they scrapped all of this idea and now they're essentially restarting. So this game has been in development now for roughly 2 years, and they're also the biggest media franchise on Pokemon Legends ZA. It looks like they used $13 million to make. Now, that might sound like a lot, but you gotta think of any other game. Any AAA title uses at least $100 million to make a game. Now, just because it costs a lot doesn't mean that the game is good, but you can hire a broad development team that can add a bunch of different things, and there you go. That would make for a massive Pokemon game. But it seems like it was just too much work to add this mechanic, and that's why we got a scooter with a leash, a magical leash that allows you to follow behind the Pokemon. Overall, very interesting. I am a little bit disappointed. I feel like they definitely could have done more, but of course, we haven't seen any trailer. We haven't seen really anything about this game. So far, it's just leaks, rumors, information. Anyways, what do you think about all this? Let me know if you're a little bit disappointed of not being able to ride your own Pokemon, or you think that's completely okay. I'd rather be on a scooter and having an awesome ride. The scooter will, of course, change. So if you're in the ground, it'll sort of hover above the ground. If you're in the water, it'll sort of hover above the water. If you're flying, it'll fly. Overall, it's very interesting. What do you think about this? Thank you so much for watching. Consider hit the subscribe button. I do a bunch of different Nintendo content. As you know, Pokemon, Mario, Zelda, pretty much everything. We're so close to 3,000 subscribers. If you want, I would really appreciate it. Anyways, thank you so much for watching. See you in the next one.